Night had fallen over the Maasai village, the full moon casting an eerie glow over the land. The people went about their business, but in every glance, in every hushed whisper, there was a sense of foreboding. They had won the battle, but they knew the war was far from over. Naeku sat alone in her hut, the flickering fire casting long shadows on the walls. Her thoughts were consumed by the beast. She could feel it, still out there in the darkness, watching, waiting. Every instinct told her that it would return, stronger than before. Deep in the forest, the beast lay hidden, licking its wounds. But pain only fueled its rage. Its glowing eyes burned with a hunger for revenge, a hunger that could only be satisfied by blood. King Olokoto gathered his warriors around him, their faces grim but determined. He spoke of the beast's power, warning them that this was only the beginning. The beast would return, he said, and when it did, it would come with vengeance in its heart. The warriors wasted no time. They sharpened their spears, fortified the village defenses, and prepared themselves for the battle that was to come. Every movement was driven by the knowledge that their very survival depended on it. Naeku felt a pull toward the edge of the village, her eyes searching the darkness of the forest. The beast's presence was stronger now, closer. She could feel it in her bones, a growing sense of dread that chilled her to the core. The roar shook the night, louder than before, filled with rage and hunger. The warriors sprang into action, their spears at the ready, their hearts pounding in their chests. The ground trembled beneath their feet, it was coming. From the shadows of the forest, the beast emerged, its massive body towering above the trees. Its eyes burned with fury, its claws tearing into the earth as it charged toward the village. This was no longer just a beast, it was a force of nature, unstoppable and unforgiving. With a battle cry, the warriors rushed to meet the beast, their spears raised high, ready to strike. King Olokoto led the charge, his face filled with grim determination. There would be no retreat tonight, only victory or death. The battle was fierce and brutal. The warriors fought with all their strength, their spears striking again and again, but the beast was relentless. Its claws slashed through the air, its roars shaking the very earth beneath their feet. King Olokoto struck a deep blow, his spear sinking into the beast's flesh. It howled in pain, but still, it did not fall. The king's face was set in grim determination, he would not stop until the beast was defeated. The battle raged on, neither side giving an inch. The beast fought with a fury born of hatred, and the warriors with a desperation born of survival. As the beast let out one final, earth-shaking roar, the night seemed to tremble with its fury. But this battle was far from over, the true test of survival had only just begun. The battle had ended, but the village was far from safe. The warriors tended to their wounds, and the people mourned those who had fallen to the beast's wrath. In the midst of it all stood Naeku, her heart heavy with the knowledge that this was not the end. King Olokoto sat alone in his hut, his thoughts weighed down by the burden of leadership. The beast had been wounded, but it would return. And next time, it would be even more powerful. He needed answers, answers that only the ancestors could provide. With a heavy heart, King Olokoto summoned the village elders. These were the keepers of the old ways, the ones who could commune with the ancestors. If anyone knew how to defeat the beast, it was them. The elders spoke of an ancient time, long before the king was born, when the ancestors had faced a similar beast. They had used the power of the sacred stones to trap the creature deep within the earth, but now it had returned, freed by forces beyond their control. The elders told the king that the sacred stones lay deep within the sacred mountain, guarded by the spirits of the ancestors. Only one who was pure of heart could retrieve them, and without the stones, the beast could never be truly defeated. Outside the hut, Naeku listened in silence, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew, deep down, that she was the one who had to retrieve the sacred stones. But fear gripped her. She had never faced such a journey before. That night, Naeku confided in the king, her voice filled with both fear and determination. She told him that she must be the one to retrieve the stones that the ancestors had chosen her. King Olokoto's heart ached. He could not bear the thought of losing her, but he knew she was right. At dawn, Naeku prepared for her journey. The villagers gathered to see her off, their faces filled with a mixture of fear and hope. King Olokoto stood by her side, his hand resting gently on her shoulder, though his heart was heavy with worry. Naeku set out across the vast savanna, the sacred mountain rising in the distance like a silent guardian. The journey would be long and dangerous, but she pressed on, knowing that the fate of her people rested on her shoulders. As she approached the base of the sacred mountain, the landscape changed. The open plains gave way to dense, shadowy forests, where the air was thick with the sounds of unseen creatures. The ancestor spirits were said to guard these woods, but Naeku felt their presence more like a warning than a blessing. With every step, the forest seemed to grow darker, more alive with strange whispers that echoed through the trees. Fear tugged at Naeku's heart, but she pressed on, driven by a determination that outweighed her terror. At last, Naeku reached a clearing at the foot of the mountain. There, hidden beneath centuries of moss and vines, stood an ancient stone altar, the gateway to the ancestors' realm and the path to the sacred stones. Naeku stood at the foot of the sacred mountain, the ancient stone altar before her. The air was still, yet it hummed with the presence of the ancestors. This was the beginning of her true test, one that would determine the fate of her people. With a steady hand, Naeku touched the altar. The ground beneath her trembled, and the ancient stones began to glow with the faint light of the ancestors' power. She had begun the path, there was no turning back now. A path appeared before her, winding its way up the mountain, hidden until now by the will of the ancestors. With each step, Naeku felt the weight of her task growing heavier, but she did not falter. The air grew colder as Naeku climbed higher. Strange whispers echoed in the wind, carrying the voices of long-forgotten spirits. She looked around, but saw nothing, only the ancient trees, their gnarled branches casting long shadows across the path. Then, from the shadows, a voice called her name. It was the voice of the ancestors, speaking not from the world of the living, but from beyond. Naeku paused, her heart pounding in her chest, but she knew she had to continue. The voice led her to the mouth of a cave hidden behind thick vines. As Naeku approached, the vines parted, as if moved by an unseen force, revealing the dark entrance to the ancestors' domain. Inside the cave, the air was thick and cold. The walls were lined with ancient carvings, depicting the ancestors' battle with the beast. These were the forgotten stories, the ones only the spirits remembered. One carving caught her eye, a warrior, holding a glowing stone, using its power to trap the beast beneath the earth. This was the key. This was the weapon she had come for. At last, she reached the heart of the cave. There, on an ancient pedestal, lay the sacred stones, glowing with the power of the ancestors. But they were not unguarded. Suddenly, the air grew thick with power, and the spirits of the ancestors appeared before her. They were not angry, but their eyes were stern, as if weighing her soul. She had come to take the stones, but first, she would have to prove herself worthy. The spirits spoke, their voices echoing through the cave. Only one who was willing to sacrifice everything for her people could claim the stones. And to prove this, Naeku would have to face her greatest fear. Naeku trembled as she stepped forward. She knew what her greatest fear was, losing everything she held dear. And in an instant, the cave disappeared, and she was standing in her village, watching it burn. Her people screamed for help, but she was powerless to save them. The sky bled into dusk as Naeku stood at the edge of the forest. The air was heavy, the weight of an unseen presence looming over her. She had come too far to turn back now. The beast waited. She stepped forward, remembering the words of the ancestors. This was not a battle to be won with fear, but with strength. Naeku felt the earth beneath her feet, grounding her in the present, ready for what was to come. The air grew colder, and the cracking of branches echoed in the distance. Naeku's heart raced, but her face remained calm, betraying none of the fear coursing through her veins. The beast was close. And then, from the shadows, the beast appeared. Its eyes glowed like embers, and its fur was as dark as the night sky. It towered over Naeku, its presence suffocating, but she did not flinch. Naeku's hand tightened around the staff in her grasp. This was the moment she had been preparing for. The beast lowered its head, its muscles coiled, ready to strike. Naeku braced herself. In a heartbeat, the beast lunged. Its massive form barreled toward her like a force of nature. Naeku spun, narrowly avoiding the beast's charge, and it crashed into the trees behind her with earth-shaking force. The beast roared in frustration, turning to face her once more. But Naeku stood her ground. She raised the staff high above her head, and from its core a bright light burst forth, flooding the clearing with radiant energy. The beast hesitated. Its glowing eyes fixated on the staff, and for the first time, Naeku saw fear flicker in its gaze. She stepped forward, the light intensifying with every step. Her voice steady, Naeku spoke to the beast. "Your reign of terror ends here," she said. The beast let out one final roar, filled with anger and desperation, but it could not move. The light of the staff bound it to the earth. The light from the staff intensified, and the beast's massive form began to dissolve, piece by piece, into the earth. Naeku watched as the last remnants of its power faded, leaving only the glowing staff in her hand. Naeku lowered the staff, her heart still pounding in her chest. She had done it, she had defeated the beast. But as the light faded, the forest seemed eerily quiet, as if the earth itself was waiting for something more. Suddenly, the air was filled with the voices of the ancestors. They spoke of her bravery and her strength, but they warned her this was only part of the test. The true challenge still awaited. Naeku gripped the staff tightly once more. Her journey was far from over, but her resolve was stronger than ever. She would face whatever lay ahead, just as she had faced the beast.